Okay, everybody, this is Cliff from the future of this video. You're about to watch our ranking of the Big Ten, but I probably said in the video a couple of times that we're about to do our top 25 way too early, but it's not 25, it's only 18 because the Big Ten, there's only 18 teams. And frankly, not all of them are that good, as you'll find out. So here we go. Back to the video. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Big Ten Team Rivalry Show. We've got a special treat for you tonight. We've got our very own way too early top 25, but we're going to do it a little bit differently than normally does it. We're going to use one of those free tier list makers online on the Webernets. You know how they do it there on the web. You can do things online now. I don't know if you know this, Mac.
Emphasis on free.
Yeah, free stuff on the internet.
We didn't get enough super chats to do anything paid this year. So
that's right.
Thanks a lot, guys.
This is what happens when you take an extended vacation. You come up with weird stuff like this that is probably going to upset a lot of people. And I got to tell you, you people and your hate posts, I don't know what your problem is. I don't know why your life sucks so much that you have to come onto our YouTube channel and post some of this stupid crap that you post. If my grandkids are watching, you did not hear me say that. Not supposed to use those words.
Okay.
No, the other one. Don't say it.
I don't know which one.
Well, good. You have to watch the replay. At any rate, here we are, the Big Ten Team Rivalry Show, where we cover the Big Ten from a Michigan perspective. My name is Cliff. His name is Mac. And we are here to do this and give our very own way too early top 25. I'm going to say this real quick because I know we didn't want to cover the article, but I'm just going to say it real quick anyway. So ESPN has their way too early top 25, and I know Mark Rogers has his over at Voice College Football, and everybody's doing them, right? So ESPN has Ohio State at number 1. Agree or disagree, Mac? I mean, Jim Knowles just left, so I think they're done.
I think preseason polls are stupid.
They are. Number 3, they have Penn State. I did not realize, all this talk about Jim Knowles going to Penn State, and all of a sudden it hit me. Wait a minute, what happened to Tom Allen? He went to Clemson, apparently.
He went to Clemson, yeah. Which, okay, you want to talk about a lateral move. Like, if the Jim Knowles one makes you scratch your head a little bit, which it does, why is Tom Allen going to Clemson?
That seems like a step up, though, doesn't it?
No. From Penn State. Considering where Clemson won their titles, and I'll give that to Dabo Swinney, but he refuses to modernize with the day of the transfer portal. So no, that's a step down, if anything.
All right. Number 6, your Oregon Ducks. Whack. Whack. Actually, I think that's actually an insult to the Oregon Ducks, given where they got to this past year to knock them down to 6. I don't know.
That feels low. I mean, especially since the Rose Bowl matchup with Ohio State never should have happened, but thanks a lot, 12-team playoff.
Number 13. So we're going to skip 7 spots. We're going to go to 13, and it is the Fighting Illini of Illinois.
That's too high.
Is it too high?
Yeah.
I figured, I don't remember what they were ranked at the beginning of last year, but it seems like they were ranked reasonably somewhere in the middle there and then just dropped.
Yeah,
it kind of went and then fell out.
Again, this is the problem with preseason polls. Like you say, the Fighting Illini are up there at 13. Like, they should be really good this year. Maybe.
Indiana is number 17.
That one I legit don't understand.
I don't either. I don't understand why they're not in the top 10. I mean, for crying out loud. What?
Okay, I was going the complete other direction.
Were you really?
All right. I was going to say knock them out of the rankings because they're not going to. They have okay. Curt Cignetti could prove me wrong. Crap, we should have covered the article. Well, we are right now. Curt Cignetti can prove me wrong. He absolutely can. And I can't remember if Rourke is coming back, but actually that's in the article if you can check that real quick.
All right.
But I can't remember if Rourke is coming back. And they could prove me wrong. The problem is that Indiana, historically under Tom Allen, would have their really good season and then be nothing for a while, and then would maybe kind of be good again, and then would be nothing for a while. But again, this is preseason rankings based on nothing.
Yeah, Curtis Rourke is leaving. So, yeah, they don't. they don't have well, it doesn't list a returning quarterback. So, but I guess
Mhm.
if it wasn't the starter, they wouldn't list him if he wasn't the starter. But yeah, I mean, I guess we have Indiana, is near and dear to our hearts because they've done just an incredible job. Well, last season they did an incredible job. Season before that, or was it the season before that that it was like they were doing really well, and we were like, yeah, Indiana, and then like I think it was Game 6, they just died.
I mean, that was last year. I mean, they played
Was
Ohio
that
State, and we all thought like, "Yo, Indiana's undefeated going into Ohio State. Like,
that
they
was
have a
that
chance."
was week
And
10?
well, yeah.
Yeah.
But I
All
mean,
right.
that's what
Well,
happened is they were undefeated going into the Ohio State game, and I
yeah.
thought they were going to win. No.
I'm too optimistic. I guess they didn't have that great of a schedule last year, and then when they had some really challenging teams, they fell apart.
I will okay, so I will say this though. Kurt Signetti has had 3 different quarterbacks who had winning seasons in the last 3 seasons. Kurt Signetti has had 3 different quarterbacks who had winning seasons for him. In James Madison's first FBS season, Todd Centio had 25 touchdown passes with a 64% completion percentage. And then it talks about the other 2 quarterbacks too, with Curtis Rourke having completed almost 70% of his passes for 3,000 yards. So,
All right.
all right, I said they could prove me wrong. Maybe they can.
Coming in at number 21, we're dropping from 17 down to 21, is the Michigan Wolverines. What
Too
I think
low.
is interesting about this, Greg McElroy of ESPN gave Sharon Moore a B+ grade for the season.
Yeah.
The entire reason he was going to give them a C right up until they beat Ohio State. And then he even said, he goes, I might still give them a C, except that then they went on and beat Alabama. So he's giving them a B+. So, we as Michigan fans, we talk about this being the greatest 8-5 season ever. It's true. It's
That's
it,
true.
it's
That
just
is
objectively true.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have any further analysis.
All right.
Michigan's too low. I understand that I said that preseason polls are stupid, but if you have to release a preseason poll, Michigan's too low.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dig into our own ranking system. And like I said, we're going to use this free tier maker from the Webernets. Actually, I think this is tiermaker.com. So if you want to make one of these yourself, you can. But this is what we're going to do. So Mac, I'm going to let you put these teams in place. I might argue some of them, but I mean, you're the football guy. You're the analyst. So
What?
what? That's your job title. Didn't you get the memo?
No.
No. Okay. Well,
No.
surprise.
Sweet.
What a twist. So we've got S tier, A, B, C, D, and F tier. S being standing for national championship. In case you didn't understand that, I could probably change that, but I'm not going to because it's too late now because we're already recording. So Mac, do you want to start from the bottom or do you want to start from the top? Let's start from the bottom.
Let's start from the bottom. Okay.
Okay.
It's decision made, I guess.
And you're allowed to move them. So we will start placing teams, and then as we get deeper into this, you can move them around if you want to. But let's start with the F tier. Who do you think has absolutely no chance of winning the Big Ten?
All right. Absolutely zero chance. Purdue.
Purdue with their new head coach.
They have a new head coach. They've got Barry Odom coming over from UNLV. Man, I mean the the roster is in shambles. Whoever the last guy was, wow, I immediately forgot his name.
Ryan Walters. Ryan Walters.
Because they suck so much. I just immediately like, who is that? Yeah, man. I mean, they lost 63 to whatever against Indiana, and that's just I can't even. So yeah, and I understand that Indiana was good last year, but no, they've got no shot.
Barry Odom. That name sounds familiar. Where did he come from?
UNLV.
Oh, UNLV. Oh, you just said that. UNLV. All right. All right, cool. All right. Anybody else you think who has no chance of winning the Big Ten?
So, well, yeah, I mean, most of these are going to be in the F tier.
Well, okay, here we go. Let's say F. Let's see. 0, 10, 20, 30. No, that's not right. 0, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Okay. So we're at 0 to 20%, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80. Nope. 0 to 20, 20 to 40. Yeah, we're going to go up. So the bottom 20%, except we've got 6 tiers. Yeah, so then somebody's going to be at the very top here. So who do you think has a less than 20% chance to win the Big Ten?
Okay, less than 20. All right, I hear you. So Northwestern, we're going to toss in there as well.
All right. I guess you might even say
Um,
15%. What is 100 divided by? I'll
We
figure it
don't
out.
we don't need to do math on this
Okay.
show.
I'm stuck now. You pick the next team. What do you got?
I'm really sorry. Yeah, Northwestern, I mean, they had a really good 2023, a shockingly good 2023. Opened the season with a win against Nebraska in Dublin. Remember that? That was
I
crazy.
do, yeah.
That was crazy, wasn't it? I guess they got this SMU transfer quarterback, Preston Stone. Did he play for Northwestern in 2023? I believe he was at Northwestern in 23, but he wasn't bad, and so they're going to be looking for him to do something this year. But I mean, I think it's still going to be kind of a rough year for them. So yeah, I got them down in that F tier. Up
All right.
next, I would say give me UCLA next.
UCLA. It's the bottom
suck LA.
17%. It goes by
Yeah.
16 to 17% increments here. So the bottom 17%.
Were you trying to figure that out that whole time? Or?
I used the calculator while you were talking.
Okay. Also, our hearts go out to LA with the wildfires. I realized I said you suck LA, and that feels insensitive right now. So, my bad.
We're just talking football.
Just football. Your football team's not very good. I imagine it's probably even worse when they have to breathe in a ton of smoke. So
yeah.
I feels really insensitive too. Anyway,
should probably move on before it gets worse.
UCLA, they. Oh man, they had a couple of interesting games, but they also got blown out by Indiana. That was kind of rough for them. They do have a returning quarterback in Ethan Garbers, so that'll be kind of an interesting thing. Some of the stuff that I saw about UCLA coming into 2025 was just kind of a wait and see thing. I'm still kind of stuck on the fact that their head coach was like the running backs coach and immediately got promoted after Chip Kelly left. And I'm like, and I feel like he skipped a step, but maybe it'll eventually work out for him. I mean, they actually were almost bowl eligible this year, and it felt like they were just abysmal this year. So they kind of actually did a little bit better than you think, but I don't know. Anyway, up next, I'm gonna take Rutgers.
Rutgers into the F tier or the D tier?
F tier.
F tier, still at the bottom.
Yeah,
This is the worst of the Big Ten. All right.
Most of these are going to be because the schedule is just not going to shake out for them. I don't see how any of these teams necessarily have a shot against an Oregon or an Ohio State or, and especially not if they have to play both of them. So, I
remember,
you
don't have to win all your games anymore.
Well, you don't have to win all your games, but you do have to win most of them just to get to the Big Ten championship game at least.
Yeah.
Rutgers. I mean, Rutgers. Rutgers has to play both Oregon and at Ohio State and a home game against Penn State. So there's nothing there for them. So and frankly, that's it for me right there. That's why they're in the F tier and they have no shot at winning the Big Ten. Also, Ethan Kaliakmanis is gone.
Oh man.
Right. Nope, no, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Ethan Kaliakmanis is back.
Oh, all right.
Kyle Monangai is gone. That's who it was. He's gone. So that's definitely disappointing for them. Also put Maryland in that F tier. I swear, again, it's just gonna be because of the schedule. Maryland's schedule actually isn't as bad as Rutgers. They have to go to Wisconsin. We'll see. They have to go to Illinois. We'll see. They have a home game against Michigan. I don't think they'll win that. I think, I was reading, I think I was actually reading this on Spartans Wire from USA Today, which is not a publication I normally read, but they were saying that this is kind of a do or die situation for Mike Locksley at Maryland. Because the last year for Maryland was just not good. They finished 17th in the Big Ten. They had a record of 4-8, 1-8 in the Big Ten. So I think that if he doesn't get things turned around and quickly, he could be looking at, the unemployment line here soon. Um, but I,
Yeah,
I don't think that starts this year.
yeah, it really kind of feels like we're getting this separation of the top and the bottom of the Big Ten. There's not really a middle group anymore. It's you're either really good or really bad.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So are we moving
Um,
anybody into the D tier yet?
yeah. All right. We're gonna
Mm,
go D tier right now. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Give me Washington.
Washington.
Put Washington in there.
Ooh,
Now here's the thing.
that's a fall
Washington.
off.
Well, they kind of had a fall off this year too. I mean,
Yeah.
they got their quote unquote revenge against Michigan. Guys, it doesn't count. All right, it wasn't, you lost the national title game just because you beat Michigan in the regular season, which by the way, both of us suck. You didn't get revenge. Like, calm down.
And yet, Ohio State couldn't do it. So
Ohio State couldn't do it. That's true. You guys did what Ohio State couldn't. Congratulations.
there we go.
Yeah, I mean, Jed Fish is a good coach. He did good things at Arizona. I don't think for a second that Washington's not in good hands with Jed Fish. The only thing is that Will Rogers, their starting quarterback, is gone, so he's going to have to replace him. And he was pretty good, so that's going to be a hit for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, maybe they have a chance. Maybe if they surprise a few teams, maybe they've got a chance. But that's where I have them right now. Are we still in the D tier? Yeah. Okay. So D tier.
Yeah, I was thinking we can continue with the D tier, or I could just say, where do you think Illinois goes?
Yeah, that's a good
which,
idea.
Which are you happier with?
Let's do that.
Illinois?
Are we going Illinois then?
Yeah, where does Illinois go? So the ESPN had them at 13,
Okay.
which puts them in the middle of the top 25.
Everyone's saying to buy stock in Illinois. Like, they're returning something like, was it 17 or 18 of their starters off of last year's team that won 10 games. I mean, they won 10 games, which is, that's pretty good.
Yep.
The thing is though, is that, people were saying like, no, Illinois is good. Those wins weren't fluky. And no, I'm not going to say that like, oh, Illinois won these games, but they were all a fluke. They weren't. Illinois is a very good team, and they're probably going to be a very good team coming into this year too. The thing is though, is that they really actually shouldn't have beaten Michigan last year. So, I mean, Michigan had the defense to beat them. They actually had a very poor offensive showing against Michigan, which makes sense. It's just Michigan's offense, had a fairly poor showing as well. But I've argued before, if Davis Warren had started the whole season, Michigan actually maybe wins 8 games before they even get to Ohio State. Maybe at least 7. And I think Illinois would have been one of those games. And I think maybe there's a bit of a different conversation happening with Illinois. And they couldn't do anything against Penn State either, which was one of the really frustrating things, is that it looked for all the world like Illinois would be able to do something against Penn State, and just nothing was there. Luke Altmaier's coming back. He's got one last season here. I mean, they might make a playoff push, but are they going to win the Big Ten? No. But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt here. If they can surprise, holy crap. I guess all they have on their schedule really that I'm looking at as almost a guaranteed loss is Ohio State. So if they can finish the season 11-1 and have the chips fall the way that they need to, they could actually make it to the Big Ten championship game. So I'm actually going to put them in the A tier.
Ooh, Illinois goes up to the A tier.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, okay. So then Indiana is number 17 in the ESPN Way Too Early Top 25. What do you got?
That's too high.
Well, like we said, so they're losing Curtis Rourke. The Elijah Sarrett will still be there. Omar Cooper, Carter Smith, Drew Evans, Aiden Fisher, D'Angelo Pons, Amare Farrell, and Mikhail Kamara are all coming back.
So
they were 11-2 and 8-1 in the Big Ten last year.
They lost one of their better receivers, I think. Don't quote me on that. They lost a receiver in the transfer portal to Michigan. that wasn't fluky either. It's just, was it sustainable is the thing.
Well, I love the
Um,
ESPN article too here. It says they're fresh off the greatest season in their 126-year history of the program.
exactly. And the
Yeah.
thing is that in 2024, who did they not play in 2024? They didn't play Oregon. They didn't play let's see. Yeah, they didn't play Oregon. They played Ohio State. They didn't play USC, which, USC was kind of on a down year. They didn't play like Wisconsin. They played Michigan, and honestly, they should have lost to Michigan there too, but Michigan kind of blew it. They're not going to win the Big Ten championship this year. I mean, they're going to kind of start to regress to the mean, and that sucks for them. But it's in this new age of NIL and all that, where the Michigans and Oregons and Ohio States of the world can get whatever players they want, and some of those players are coming from Indiana. I don't know how Indiana is going to do with NIL under Curt Cignetti. I mean, it could be that they start turning things around. There is money in Bloomington for sure, but where is it? What's happening with this team? I'm putting Indiana in C tier.
Oh man,
I think they're good. I think they can be good again. I don't think that they're going to win the Big Ten.
you're putting Curt Cignetti, the all I ever do is win coach, in the C category.
Yeah, well, he's got to play. He's got to play Penn State. He's got to play Oregon. He's got to play Illinois. Who, if Illinois is any good, then there you go. I mean, he's got to play at Iowa. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm saying it probably won't happen.
Probably won't. Right. All right. Well, next up is Iowa, and as far as I know, Kirk Ferentz is coming back. He's still coaching. I thought for sure he was going to retire the year before last, so after his 25th year, but no, he's coming back. What do you think? Where do they go?
Man, Cade McNamara just transferred again.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He transferred to an FCS school.
Oh, jeez.
Was it an FCS school or was it a D3 school? I can't remember. But he's not in FBS anymore, and that's kind of insane for him. So, I couldn't tell you if replacing Cade McNamara is actually a blessing in disguise or a curse.
I got it here.
Okay.
He's going to East Tennessee State.
Jeez. He could have just stayed at Michigan and won a national championship. I mean, if he had just swallowed his pride, he would be starting. He would have started last year for Michigan, and he would be starting in 2025 for Michigan.
Yep.
I mean, whatever. Anyway, it sounds like Iowa's got a quarterback coming in from South Dakota State. According to this article I'm reading, he was pretty good for the Jackrabbits. South Dakota State's generally a pretty good team. Actually, I think they're a very good team. They regularly win the championship, I think. The thing is, though, is I don't think that Kirk Ferentz is ever going to evolve Iowa's offense to like modern college football. And because of that, I think that Iowa is just going to be same old Iowa. I mean, I think they're going to be good for sure. I think they're going to be good, but are they going to beat the teams necessary to get to the Big Ten championship? And that's where same old Iowa comes into play. They don't have the worst schedule though. And this is what's kind of interesting is if Iowa's defense is as good as they usually are under Kirk Ferentz, and their defensive coordinator's name escapes me, but he's really good for them too. But they only play, so they've got Oregon and they've got Penn State. I bet you if they can surprise Penn State and finish the season 11-1, they could have a shot at not just a Big Ten championship, but the playoffs.
Phil Parker is the DC.
Phil Parker, that's it. And could you imagine Iowa making the playoffs? Do you know how badly they would get destroyed?
I know. Well, they owned the West Division for so many years, but
that's not a flex.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
That's not a flex.
That was the problem with the divisions. We had one great division and one bad division, but somebody's got to win the bad division.
So I guess out of all of the bad teams, Iowa was the least bad.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to put Iowa in the B tier. And the reason is because I don't expect them to beat Penn State or Oregon. But if they could surprise one of them, there's a chance.
All right. I'm gonna switch you over to Wisconsin. Where does Wisconsin go?
Yeah, sorry, they're going in D tier.
Oh no.
Yeah, they're going in D tier. I like Luke Fickle. I really do. Steve Dace has talked about this before, that Luke Fickle is kind of Wisconsin's version of Rich Rod, that he's coming in with a completely different football philosophy,
Mhm.
and the Wisconsin faithful don't like it. And it's not immediately producing results on the field either. I don't necessarily think that he's in hot seat territory just yet, but it's not been like a super awesome first 3 years for him. And I don't really see a whole lot of fire coming into this season either, or a lot of hype or anything like that. Like, dang, watch out for Wisconsin in 2025. Like, nobody's saying that. Um, they did land Billy Edwards, the Maryland quarterback transfer out of the portal. So that could definitely help spark Wisconsin's offense, which lost Tyler Van Dyke to injury. Um, and I can't remember the backup's name, but I mean the offense just kind of sputtering pretty much all year. There wasn't a lot of stuff that they could do. I don't really think that there's going to be a lot that they can do this year either. So yeah, I don't think that it's going to happen for them.
I did hear one of the suggested picks for Ohio State for their new DC was potentially Luke Fickle,
Well,
which I found interesting because it ties in with that whole if Ryan Day ever leaves Ohio State, would Luke Fickle want the job? And that might put him in a place to get it.
that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
I thought Luke Fickle was more of an offensive mind, but either way, I thought he
Uh,
was also kind of upset with Ohio State for not getting the job in the first place.
I don't know. I know he loves Ohio State. I mean, he's born and bred Ohio, and
Mhm.
I'm certain he wants to get back there. But well, I shouldn't say certain. In my mind, I feel like he's certain that he wants to get back there. But we'll see.
Yeah. Hmm.
Let's go to Nebraska. Where does Nebraska go?
Nebraska is I mean, they're interesting, aren't they?
Yeah,
They they made a bowl game for the first time since 2016. And did they win it? I can't remember if they won it.
they did. I believe. Yeah, they.
um
I think they ended the year fairly well.
yeah. I mean, they had a good season. They had a pretty good season. They looked
They
really
did.
good there
They
for a
they
bit.
beat. They went to the Pinstripe Bowl and beat Boston College.
There you go. Okay, yeah. So I mean, they had a pretty good season this year, and Dylan Raiola, he's their 5-star, highly touted quarterback. He was a freshman, but he played pretty well. But he was a freshman and made some freshman mistakes and stuff like that. It happens. I think what'll be interesting about Nebraska though is kind of the same thing I said about Indiana, is that I don't know how Nebraska is going to be able to do in the age of NIL in the Big Ten. And I mean, there's money. There's money. Okay. And Matt Rule's a good coach. Um, but you have to make big moves, and they did with Dylan Raiola. I understand. I'm not saying they can't do this, but you have to make big moves to keep up with Ohio State, to keep up with Oregon, to keep up with Michigan. Michigan was in a down year. They're not going to be down for very long. Um, I don't know if Nebraska is going to be able to do that. If Nebraska gets into a bidding war with a recruit or a prospect against Ohio State or Michigan or apparently Penn State, um, are they going to win that battle? And I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. And I'm only saying that because we haven't seen them do it yet. I will say for this year, though, I do expect them to take a fairly decent step forward. Just because I think, with Dylan Raiola coming back in his second season, he's going to be looking a lot better. The problem is that, they have a relatively favorable schedule depending on the type of Nebraska team that shows up. If the Nebraska team that, showed up against Ohio State plays, through next season,
Oh yeah.
then they could be looking at, potentially a surprise Big Ten championship appearance. If the Nebraska team that played against, was it Illinois where they just randomly got blown out? Or was that Indiana maybe? Um,
Oh yeah.
then
56-7 when they played Indiana,
Indiana, yeah. Then,
and then only lost to Ohio State by 4 points
right,
the
yeah,
following week. No, the following week.
yeah. So I mean, then there are going to be problems. But for right now, I mean, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I'll put them in the C tier with Indiana. I think that there's a path, and the schedule isn't awful.
Mhm.
But it just depends on how consistent they are.
I know that Matt Rule at Temple and Baylor, I believe he was doing better in his second year than he has done at Nebraska. So,
Mm-hmm.
in order for him to stay on schedule, he's got to make some big gains in this third year.
Okay.
So, all right, let's do Minnesota.
Minnesota didn't have a bad 2024 season. I guess the problem with Minnesota is that Fleck was brought in to like rejuvenate this program, and he said that he wanted to win championships with Minnesota, and so far they haven't come close. They haven't come close to the Big Ten championship. They've fielded good teams, but it just feels like every time they kind of gain some traction, they either lose a really random game, or then just completely fall apart the rest of the season. And I mean, they had a good showing against Michigan this year, and I bring up Michigan a lot because that's who I watched predominantly this season. But I don't think I think that everybody's expectations for Minnesota coming into 2024 were quite low. And that's for good reason, is that Minnesota has yet to reach expectations under PJ Fleck.
Mhm.
And in fact, seem to be getting worse and worse pretty much every year. So the fact that Minnesota went 8-5, you know, that's kind of a good season for them. Is it the type of season that they expected to be a good season under PJ Fleck? No, it's not. So PJ Fleck's not meeting expectations. Is he going to be on the hot seat, or is he going to want to move on to a different program? I don't know. I feel like he's spinning his wheels at Minnesota. Like they're not doing anything to get him a team that is capable of winning a Big Ten championship. And he's a good coach. He can take, mediocre players and make them a good team. He did that at Western Michigan. Actually, I shouldn't say that. That was a great recruiting class that he brought in for that 2016 squad. But the fact that he's been there at Minnesota for this long and hasn't even come close to a Big Ten championship, and I don't think it's going to happen for him this year. So I'm going to put him in the D tier.
D tier. Yeah, I really think PJ Fleck he peaked in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was Minnesota's best season, and like you said, it's just been getting worse every year. They don't seem to be getting any traction. Let's go to Michigan State, our in-state
Michigan
rivals to the
State.
west. Well, the east for you.
Yes. I had to think about that for a second. Yeah, I'm not gonna be objective about this.
let me throw this in before you start talking. So
All right.
Greg McElroy, who gave Michigan a B plus,
Mm-hmm.
struggled to give Michigan State a C.
Struggled. What does that mean?
Means he gave him a C, but he wasn't sure they deserved it. So
Meaning he deserved less?
yeah.
Yeah. I got the sense from Aiden Childs that he likes to play hero ball quite a bit, that he knows he's pretty good, and because of that, likes to do too much with the ball when it's in his hands. I tend to think that Michigan State's success in 2025 is going to come at the hands of Aiden Childs, provided he can be more consistent, because he is very good, but he's very inconsistent. So Jonathan Smith has got to figure out a way to get some consistent quarterback play out of Aiden Childs. The other thing is that Michigan State's recruiting right now and transfer portal class really isn't all that great. They're really not making much of a splash in any sort of capacity. I mean, think about all the buzz that has been surrounding the Big Ten this year. Have you heard anything about Michigan State?
No. Last time I heard anything about Michigan State was when they brought in Jonathan Smith,
Yeah.
and that's about it.
And it's funny too, because I remember going into the Michigan game last year. I mean, everybody in our whole panel on the Big Ten Brady Bunch said that Michigan State was going to beat Michigan. It was probably going to be by a couple of scores because we just genuinely didn't know where Michigan was going to be able to generate points from to keep up with Michigan State. To keep up with Michigan State, this team that missed out on a bowl game. And then Michigan goes and just messes around and ends up winning the game. So like,
yeah, it was a close one. Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm looking at Minnesota.
But I mean, but the Michigan State game, I mean, that was a close game. But like the problem was is that people thought that Michigan State was going to win because they didn't think Michigan could generate enough points to keep up with them. And you remember that first drive, I mean, Michigan State just waltzed right down the field and then had 4 plays to put in a score, couldn't do it, and then missed the field goal.
Oh, yeah.
So they're just so inconsistent. They're so incredibly inconsistent. And I don't think that it's going to get any better for them this year. I actually fully expect them to miss out on a bowl game again. And I actually kind of wonder, they opened the season against my alma mater, Western Michigan. I wonder if Western Michigan actually has a chance to beat them because Western's bringing in a pretty solid class, for MAC standards, but you never know. In any case, Michigan State's not going to come anywhere near the Big Ten championship, so they're going in the F tier actually.
Down at the bottom. All right, let's see. Let's go to USC.
USC. Southern California. Let me think about them for a second. So Lincoln Riley's kind of an enigma, isn't he? Yeah. They had that good year in 2022. They nearly made the college football playoff, which is fantastic. Good job. They kind of lost a lot of transfer portal or a lot of talent to the transfer portal this year. And Lincoln Riley is really good at doing less with more. Like he's really good at taking really good players and not getting anything out of them. I mean, Caleb Williams is a really good quarterback, even if he does paint his nails like some sort of weirdo. But I mean, he had a Heisman winning quarterback. He's had a couple of Heisman winning quarterbacks. But the thing with Lincoln Riley is that his offenses are prolific. Where are his defenses? And his defense this year took a huge step forward. And then all of a sudden the offense couldn't do anything. And I don't think Miller Moss is necessarily a bad quarterback either. I think that there was something just fundamental going wrong with USC's offense this year. I mean, and frankly, their 2024 season was an enigma in of itself. The fact that they beat LSU in the fashion that they beat LSU. I remember watching that game and thinking, all right, well, USC is now in the conversation for a Big Ten title. No, not at all. They finished the season 7-6, 4-5 in Big Ten play. I think that they could be better this year. I don't know what their quarterback play is going to look like right now. I don't know who they have. I think that if the defense is even better this year, then maybe they could potentially be looking at something of a Big Ten title run. But I don't know what's going on with the offense, and I don't frankly trust Lincoln Riley. So I'm going to put them in the C tier just because they could kind of go either way for me.
All right. I was just trying to look at their roster here. As far as the quarterbacks go, they have, who's there? Sam Howard.
Okay.
Jack Stupin is a sophomore. Gage Roy is a senior. Wow, they got a lot of quarterbacks. They got Houston Longstreet as a freshman. Jaden Maeva is a junior. He's a redshirt, though. Dylan Gebbia is a redshirt sophomore. So out of all of those, I would imagine it's going to be Gage Roy is going to be their starter.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, now we got down to the big four here as far as I'm concerned. Let's go with Penn State. ESPN has them at number 3 in the top 25.
Yeah, and they just got Jim Knowles too, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
They just got Jim Knowles from Ohio State, man.
The best DC in the country. Now that Jesse Minter's in the NFL.
Nice. Yeah, Drew Allar's coming back. Drew Allar's pretty good, except he lost them the Oregon game.
Oh,
But they made a playoff run, except he then lost them the playoff game against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
But he's good, right? Right.
sure. Yeah.
They have Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton, who are all coming back for another season, which is awesome. They generally have a really good defense. They did again this year as well. We were talking about this in the Voice of College Football video that we just recorded, which will be live Tuesday or Monday morning. Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. What day is it? Go check that out on the Michigan Football at the Voice of College Football YouTube channel. It kind of feels like Penn State's going all in for 2025. The fact that they got Jim Knowles. We had mentioned, I talked about this before, that Andy Kotelnicki had, according to the guys at On3, or not On3, the Cover 3 podcast, Andy Kotelnicki, the OC at Penn State, has had 2 games in his career where his offense didn't score a touchdown, one of which was against Oklahoma State. The other one was this year against Ohio State, and Jim Knowles was the DC for both games that he went up against. So the fact that, he's at Penn State now means that Andy Kotelnicki's offense should probably be doing a little bit better, right? Excuse me. I've been talking a lot. Who's Drew Allar going to be throwing the ball to? That's kind of what I'm wondering is, because I think Tyler Warren's graduating. He's a great tight end. Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton, I think they're pretty good at receiving out of the backfield and all that. But I want to know who are the weapons going to be on the wideouts? Where is he throwing the ball? And can Drew Allar throw the ball without throwing an interception? Can he not freak out? Are they going to use his legs properly and all that? There's Penn State has a lot that they can do. They just need to build up the wide receiving core, I think, a little bit, and that's really the only piece I think that's holding them back from making another playoff run and potentially winning the Big Ten championship. You got to remember, this year was a really good season for them, and I'm not going to take that away from them, but they did kind of fall butt backwards into the Big Ten championship game. Like, let's not pretend that they earned it because they went there. They won the games that they needed to win. But Michigan also kind of gave them a hand, didn't they? Like, Michigan beat Ohio State and knocked Ohio State out, and James Franklin owes Sharon Moore a debt of gratitude. But I think that Penn State has what they need to make a run at the Big Ten. I don't think that they're going to make it, but I think that they could do it if they tried really hard. So put them in the A tier. I think that they've got what they need. I just don't know if they're going to be able to do it.
All right. How about Oregon?
Yeah, Oregon, man.
They're number 6 in the top 25.
They're number 6. Yeah.
So I guess it makes them 3rd in the Big Ten.
So the big question mark here is Dante Moore. Is Dante Moore going to turn out to be everything that Oregon is hoping him to be? Dante Moore, it was thought that he was going to go to Michigan. Then he committed to UCLA, I think it was, and then transferred to Oregon, or didn't transfer, or just went over to Oregon. Either way, he's at Oregon now. Is he going to be everything that they want him to be? Is he going to be able to replace Dylan Gabriel and have that offense clicking the way that they're going to need it to? I don't expect them to actually be like bad this season. I don't know that they're going to have necessarily a drop off. So I do expect them to be fully in that Big Ten championship conversation. Actually, I think that their season might play out next year a lot like it did this year. The only question mark is whether, if Dante Moore ends up being good, then they could end up winning the Big Ten and then potentially the national championship. That's kind of where I see them right now. So I am going to put them in that S tier for right now. I think they're going to be my first team in that S tier, actually.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Let's save Michigan for last. So Ohio State. Currently, ESPN has them as going number 1 in the Big Ten again. Oh, not again.
Not again.
Not again. No, number 1 in the Big Ten
this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like we mentioned before, Jim Knowles is at Penn State now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird stuff going on in Columbus. Logic would tell you that there shouldn't be a drop-off for Ohio State. Okay? Even with Jim Knowles leaving, I expect them to get a good DC. The The question that I have though is that, I mean, they are losing a lot of talent on defense, but not so much that I'd be like, oh no, their defense is going to be in shambles. What I do question though is whoever they bring in next as DC, um, is it going to take time to implement his system, and is that going to throw everything off? Will whoever the next DC is, maybe modify things a little bit so that there's less of a less growing pains during that period. The other question is Ryan Day going to be the head coach in 2025?
That's my question. That's what I want to know. I think that
um,
everybody's. I think he's waiting for. You waited for Jim Knowles, and I was waiting for Chip Kelly to find a job, and then I bet you anything, Ryan Day's going to announce that he's already got a job
yeah,
somewhere else other than
and
Ohio State.
and you also called Kirk Ferentz to be gone at Iowa after this season too.
I
So
did,
I
yeah,
don't
I
know how
did.
much stock we can put into your opinions, but all right. Anyway, but it's still a question. I think it's still kind of a valid question. And I don't mean any disrespect to Ohio State fans. I'm not trying to, clickbait you or anything. I think that there's a lot of pressure on Ryan Day to win the Michigan game. And I think that that pressure is all going to come back next season, especially around October and into November when it starts to become Michigan, football season. Um, for the game, not just because it's literally football season. Um, is that pressure something that Ryan Day wants to go through again? I mean, he's already got the national championship. What more does he need if he just accepts that he can't beat Michigan? Not saying he can't. I'm just saying that hasn't happened yet. But if he tells himself, I can't beat Michigan, my family is miserable here because of the threats that they're getting, it's time to move on. Is he going to do that? It's a valid question. It's a valid question, and I wonder if Chip Kelly is being being looked at by some NFL teams. I think the Texans were looking at him, the Jaguars were looking at him. I think it's a valid question to ask if Chip Kelly is going to be the OC again this year too. Maybe he doesn't want to deal with the pressure of beating Michigan either, and it felt a lot like during that Michigan game that Ryan Day's ego or maybe lack thereof or I don't know, something took over during that game because that the offensive play calling for Ohio State was just bonkers. It made no sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's a question. There are a lot of questions I think for Ohio State right now. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to put them in that S tier with Oregon because they'll have the roster. I don't think that you can ever really question Ohio State's quarterback situation. They've always got great quarterbacks. Is Ryan Day going to be the coach? That's all I got.
I mean, look at who they're losing this year. I mean, every one of these names: Trevion Henderson, Emeka Egbuka, Will Howard, Donovan Jackson, Cody Simon, Lathan Ransom, Jack Sawyer, JT Timaloau, Denzel Burke. You've heard every one of these names called when they're playing a game.
Yep.
I mean, that's just an outstanding line or outstanding roster right there.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. And all of those guys leaving. They Jeremiah Smith is coming back, Carnell Tate and Caleb Downs. So they've got 3 key returning players, but man, they are losing a ton of talent.
They are, yeah. But the thing with Ohio State though is that they always reload. They've always got somebody who is just as good, if not better.
Yep. All right, we got one team left. The Michigan Wolverines. Where are they going?
They're going all the way, man. We're gonna win the Natty. Michigan's back. Let's do it.
All right, hold on.
Yeah, let's.
All right, where are they going?
Let's pump the brakes here. All right, so here's the deal. Bryce Underwood. There's a lot of stock being put into Bryce Underwood, and I'm not saying it's not deserved. All I'm saying is that he hasn't played a down of college ball yet. Okay, so I'm not a person who will just assume the worst but hope for the best. Actually, no, I am, but it's more of a prepare for the worst, hope for the best. But when it comes to football, it's just I'm just waiting and see. I'll just wait and see. I'll wait and see if Bryce Underwood is actually as good. I expect him to be as good because that's what everybody is telling me is that Bryce Underwood is going to be really good. Great. All right. I got to wait and see. Okay, I'm not going to just come out and say like, oh yeah, Michigan's going to win the Big Ten because Bryce Underwood's going to be this freshman phenom and take Michigan all the way. That being said, Michigan kind of sucked this year. and they
What?
still beat Ohio State and Alabama.
Best 8-5 season ever.
Best 8-5 season ever. And you know who is coming back though?
Sharon Moore.
Davis Warren,
Davis Warren.
the Buckeye killer himself. So here's the thing with Davis Warren. It's either going to be him or Mikey
Keene.
Mikey Keene, thank you. It's either going to be him or Mikey Keene that's going to be starting at quarterback, unless of course Bryce Underwood ends up being that freshman phenom, which fine, great.
Well, now a number of people pointed out to me too that ACL tear he might be out for a year, which
oh,
the ACL tear, they say it's 6 to 12 months.
mm-hmm.
And what I question about that, well, I don't question the diagnosis, but what I'm wondering about that is why is he recommitted to playing for Michigan if he's not even going to be in contention for anything? If he's not even going to be able to practice until the season starts. But 6 months from the tear, so if the tear was January 1st, 6 months out is June, and I'm pretty sure that's typically when early practice starts for the fall season.
Late July, I think.
Late July?
Yeah, that's when the fall camp starts.
There's the possibility that he already knows that his recovery time should be in that time frame, so he could get in there. But
yeah,
I don't know. I guess my big question on that, and the only reason I say that is because he took the time to say, I'm coming back, unless he's coming back to be an assistant coach. But I don't know that he can do that. I guess as a grad student, he can do that, but
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I'm in his head and, he's plotting out his revenge. Like he's, 6 months and then he's going to hit the practice field and become Tom Brady. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that,
I did actually, you make that joke, but I did see an article about 6 or 7 NFL players who got an ACL tear and ended up when they healed and came back, they were far and away better players.
I've heard that with things like that, you kind of something clicks in your brain and you kind of become fearless.
Yeah.
Like nothing can hurt you. Well, my ACL tore and I was down, and if that's the worst that can happen to me, then I'm just going to go ball out.
Yeah.
Like I was, for whatever reason, I was kind of like that when I had my appendix taken out. Like I recovered from appendix surgery and then was just like, all right, everybody get out of my way. I'm going to kill you all.
Let's do this.
Yeah. For context, I was playing football that year. It wasn't just I was, going to school and running people over in the hallways.
But that's fun too.
It is fun, yeah. So I don't know what Davis Warren is thinking. I mean, can he come back in fall camp and blow everyone away? Is Mikey Keene going to be kind of turnover prone? He was last year. I just either way. I think that Michigan, in terms of the quarterback situation, it's going to be a lot better coming into 2025. The problem is that they're going to be young. Okay, so the problem is that they're going to be young, but they also don't have a schedule that's incredibly demanding of them. They don't play Oregon. They don't play Texas. They don't play Penn State. Wow, that took a minute. The only really difficult one, they've got Oklahoma. Oklahoma is, we'll see. I kind of have some thoughts about Oklahoma. They're not lights out, but that could be a difficult one because it's on the road. And then they've got, USC, we'll see, again, with a we'll see kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And then Ohio State. And Ohio State couldn't even beat 6-5 Michigan. So are they going to beat 10-1 Michigan? 9-2 Michigan? And it's at home. So Michigan, I think Michigan actually has everything that they need, and the schedule lines up pretty well for them to make a run at the Big Ten championship. I really do. The thing is, though, I want to know exactly what that quarterback situation is going to look like. Either way, I think it's going to be better than this year. So I do expect Michigan to make kind of an interesting run at the Big Ten championship. So I'm going to put Michigan in that A tier because I'm kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt, assuming that that defense is going to be just as good, if not better, because they do have some really good players coming back and coming in. They probably deserve to be more of a B tier right now, but I'm a Michigan fan, so I'm going to put them in the A tier.
I think that's reasonable, but then again, I'm also a Michigan fan, so that makes sense to me. I like Iowa in the B tier all by themselves. It's like they're the best of the average teams.
Yeah,
You know, that kind of fits right there. That's where
that's
they belong,
nice.
and that makes
Yeah,
sense. All of these guys in the F tier, though, we'll have to keep an eye on that. Maybe one of them will surprise us.
yeah.
The only one that I think that could possibly surprise us would be Purdue
What?
if they're well because it's a new coach. New coach comes in just like Kurt Signetti comes into Indiana
Yeah.
and turns it around in a heartbeat.
Well, but he's got to bring a lot of players with him too. That roster
I
is
guess, yeah.
hurting.
Yeah. All right. I think that's going to do it for us. This has been our way too early prediction on the Big Ten rankings. And there you've got Oregon and Ohio State right at the top. Double O. Right
Oh
there.
yeah.
Yeah. Anything you want to add to that, Mac?
No.
No.
This could be totally wrong.
That's good.
Preseason polls are stupid, and this could be totally
Yeah,
wrong.
it's way too early. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you have a comment, please leave it below. If you have a hate comment, again, just keep it to yourself, man.
Just
It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of our time,
unless it's funny.
unless it's funny.
If it's funny, we will accept it.
Sure. We love
Mhm.
trash talk.
We do.
Good trash talk is always accepted. But if you come on here and you call us clowns, I'm just going to ignore you. I'm sorry. Everybody else, please leave a comment. Let us know what you think. How would you rank the Big Ten? If you want, maybe we can put this tier out there for public and we can all vote on it. Let me know if you want to do that. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. And I think that's going to about do it. We will see you guys soon in the next video. Mac, take us out.
This is the Big Ten Team Rivalry Show.